And today, Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis asked a judge to set the trial date for former President Trump and his 14 remaining co-defendants in the Georgia election interference case. That date, August 5th, 2024. Now, that date would be stunning on its own. It's just 3 months before Election Day. But DA Willis asking for an August 5th trial date today is even more of a big deal when you consider that she just said this on Tuesday.
I believe in that case there will be a trial. I believe the trial will take many months, and I don't expect that we will conclude until the winter or the very early part of 2025.
Now, Trump's legal team promptly filed its own motion opposing that August 5th trial date, and we have no idea how the judge will rule here. But there is a very real chance that former President Trump could be on trial during the closing weeks of the 2024 election, on Election Day itself, through January 6th and the election certification process, and maybe even through inauguration. And we remember how that all went down last time, don't we, in 2020? Well, this would add a new level of complexity to all of that. This is not the only key date we learned about today. DA Willis also requested that the judge set a final plea date on June 21st. Trump, if you recall, has 14 co-defendants remaining. 4 of his original co-defendants have already pleaded guilty. And now DA Willis is asking to give all the remaining defendants a hard deadline for making a deal with prosecutors. The state will entertain negotiated guilty plea deals up until the final plea date. After the final plea date, the defendants will only have the option of non-negotiated pleas, and the state intends to recommend maximum sentences at any remaining sentencing hearings. So if any of Trump's co-defendants feel like cutting a deal and avoiding jail time, the clock is ticking. They have until June 21st. Now, the reason these dates matter is because they could very well determine if Donald Trump will be held accountable at all. Trump has been trying to push all 4 of his criminal trials until after 2024, at which point he might be president again and could make them, for the most part, disappear. And there are already 2 cases where it looks like Trump's delay tactics might very well succeed. The first is the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case down in Florida. This week, the Trump-appointed judge in that case, Aileen Cannon, made a ruling that has experts speculating that trial might not happen until after the 2024 election. And because of potential scheduling conflicts with other cases, the timing for Trump's New York hush money trial, that also looks like it is in flux. So those 2 cases might not be resolved before the end of 2024, which means that they might never be resolved. But 2 of the big cases against Trump, ones with arguably the most serious charges, they do look like they will happen next year. One is DA Willis's election interference case in Georgia, and the other is Jack Smith's federal election interference case in Washington, D.C. The judge in Jack Smith's D.C. case, Judge Tanya Chutkan, said last month that this trial will not yield to the election cycle. We will not revisit the trial date. And that suggests, well, it suggests a very complicated year ahead for candidate defendant Donald J. Trump. It looks likely that Trump's first big trial, the Jack Smith D.C. trial, will commence on March 4th, one day before Super Tuesday, when voters in 16 states go to the polls. And Trump's second big trial, the Georgia election interference trial, that may start on August 5th, and it could last months, meaning Donald Trump may be on trial just before, during, and after Election Day, meaning 2024 will be a presidential election year like no other. Once those trials start, there is likely to be new information presented that Donald Trump does not want to come out. Last month, Trump's legal team filed a motion in the D.C. election interference case, and that motion asked the judge to bar special counsel Jack Smith's team from talking about the January 6th insurrection during the trial. Trump's team claimed that connecting Donald Trump and the violence from that day would prejudice jurors against Trump. Well, today, Judge Chutkan denied that motion, which makes sense. It was a long shot request. It was a Hail Mary. Trump's legal team asked for it anyway. And that is how much they do not want more information about Trump's connection to the January 6th riot to become public. But it looks like that is exactly what may happen. Now, just tonight, hours ago, a judge in Colorado rejected an effort to keep Donald Trump off the state's 2024 ballot. That case was based on part of the 14th Amendment that bars individuals from running for public office if they've engaged in insurrection. And even though that judge decided to keep Trump's name on the Colorado ballot, she wrote in her order that the court finds that Trump engaged in insurrection on January 6, 2021, through incitement. Man, that is just a heck of a thing to have a court decide formally. And it certainly does not bode well for Donald Trump, as all of these January 6 cases go to trial in the weeks and months and days leading up to the general election. So buckle up.